let's do the rest of factoring. We factored a greatest common factor. We factored 3 terms. Now we have to be able to factor 4 terms. The method we're going to use for factoring 4 terms is called grouping. So what we're going to do, when we have 4 terms that there's not a greatest common factor we can take out of all 4, we're going to put them in groups of 2. I'm going to put a parentheses around the first 2 and the last 2. And what we're going to do is exactly what we did on the first 2 problems of this lesson. We're going to take out a greatest common factor. So I'm going to look at these 2 terms and decide what they have in common. What's the greatest common factors? And I can take out a 5x out of both of these terms. And the idea of taking a 5x out is I'm going to divide by 5x. 10 divided by 5 is a 2. The x's cancel out, leaving behind a 2y. My second piece, 15x divided by 5x. 15 divided by 5 is 3, and my x's cancel out, and I'm left with a 2y plus 3. I'm going to do the same idea in the back, and my goal is to end up with another 2y plus 3 in the back. That's what we have to happen. And for that to happen, looking at these numbers, to start with a negative 14y and end up with a 2y, I'm going to take out a negative 7. Because negative 14y minus negative 7 is a positive 2y. And the same idea, negative 21 divided by negative 7 is a positive 3. That's going to get rid of this. My next idea needs to be, when I factor these 2 terms, these have to be the same. If these are not the same, you did not factor correctly. So I'm going to factor out, I'm going to take that out of both of them, put it on the outside. And if I do that, my second factor is going to be a 5x minus 7, what's left over. So we factor out what the first 2 have in common, a 5x, leaving behind a 2y plus 3. And then out of the second 2, I need a 2y plus 3 left over, so I factor out a negative 7. 2y plus 3 is one of my factors. 5x minus 7 is my second, and that's my solution. All right, looking at number 12, 4 terms, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to group by 2's. This time I'm going to take a 2x out of the front. If I take out a 2x, I'm going to be left with an x plus 5. And the math, again, is 2x squared divided by 2x. As the 2 cancels, and since I have an x squared on top, I cancel out one of them, and I'm left with a single x. If I want this to work, I have to have an x plus 5 left over in the back. So what can I take out of 3x plus 15 that's going to leave behind an x plus 5? I'm going to say a positive 3. My 2 factors, my 2 leftover pieces are the same. So that's going to be one of my factors. And what I took out is going to be my second. X plus 5, 2x plus 3. If you change the order and write it as x plus 2x plus 3x plus 5, that's the same thing. You don't have to have it in the same order. You just have to have the sides in the right places. All right, how we're going to use this, and this is probably the most important thing we need for this next part, is factoring with the leading coefficient. This is not a problem that many of you guys are going to go straight to the answer. Some of us can work through our heads and get to this, but we're going to show the work on all these. All right, when there's a leading coefficient, what we're going to do, I'm going to take that negative 16x apart into 2 terms. That's my goal, so I can end up with 4, and then I can group by 2's. All right, so our thought process is going to be, when I have a leading coefficient, I'm going to multiply 3 times 5 and get 15. So the 2 numbers that I'm going to put in the middle here have to multiply to give me that 15. 3 times 5. Now going back to last lesson, they need to add to give me 16. So the 2 numbers I'm after are going to multiply to give me 15. That's 3 times 5. And like the previous problems, they're going to add to give me my middle term. And last term's positive. Both the numbers I choose need to be a negative. So when I get down to the bottom here, I'm going to have two minus signs in my parentheses. Because my last term's positive, I use the sign of the middle. All right, so my factors are 15. 1 and 15, 3 and 5. So I need to pick two numbers, like I said, that multiply to give me 15, add to give me 16. I'm going to pick 1 and 5. And I'm going to make them both negative, so I get a negative 16. So I'm going to go negative 1x minus 15x. All right, starting over. It's going to be a minus minus, because my last term's positive, use the sign of the middle. I multiply my 3 times 5, my leading coefficient times my constant, and I get 15. So the two numbers I need to pick have to multiply to give me 15, and they're going to add to give me 16. So I picked 1 and 15, and we said it was a minus minus, so I make both those numbers negative. And what we have done is we've taken apart negative 16x into negative 1x minus 15x, which is negative 16x. The two numbers I chose here is how I'm going to take apart that middle term. Now, we finish it by grouping by 2's. So out of the bottom, I'm going to take out an x, leave minus 3x minus 1. Take out an x out of both terms. To make this work, like I've said a couple times, I have to have a 3x minus 1 left over. So to end up with a 3x minus 1, I'm going to take a minus 5 out of my back 2. Changing the signs takes out the negative and divide by 5. These two end up being the same, so that's one of my factors. My second factor is going to be what I took out. 3x minus 1, x minus 5. All right, so we're going to take a trinomial that has a leading coefficient, a number x squared, and we're going to take apart that middle term using our rules into two terms and group by 2's. All right, so let's look at 14. All right, leading coefficient. So I'm going to say right offhand, last term's positive, middle term's positive, it's going to be a plus plus. The two numbers I'm looking for need to multiply to give me 12. And because my last term's positive, they need to add to give me 11. Multiply to give me 12. 2 times, let's back up. I did my math wrong. I said it, but I didn't do it right. We're going to multiply to give us 24. 2 times 12. So back up a step. That 2 times 12 gives me a 24. Not 12. So I need to multiply to get 24. 2 times 12 and add to give me 11. So I can go 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So I'm going to use 3 and 8, and they're both positive. So inside, I'm going to add together a 3x and an 8x to give me my 11x. So I'm taking this apart into 2. It doesn't matter what order you put the middle in. Just we're going to put them in the middle. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 3x in the back with the 12 and the 8x in the front with the 2 because I think those two match up better. All right, so it doesn't matter. We're going to put two terms in the middle, that 3x and the 8x. And I'm going to put the 8 first to make this part a little bit easier. So I'm going to take a 2x out of the front, leave behind an x plus 4. And like I said, to make this work, I need an x plus 4 in the back. So I'm going to take out a positive 3. X plus 4 is 1. 2x plus 3 is the second. So there is my factors. So we're taking apart that middle term into two terms and then grouping by 2's. We're using all the same rules we've been doing. On the trinomials, we just have to add that middle step to get 4 terms. All right. Pause this one and do this, or try it. And then when you get an answer or get an idea, unpause it and see how you did. 3 times 12 is a 36. Last term's negative, so it's a plus minus. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to give me 36, and this time subtract to give me 16, because my signs are different. When I write them all out, I'm going to use 18 and 2. I have to decide, since my signs are different, if I want 18 minus 2 or 2 minus 18 to get a negative 16. So I'm going to use 2 minus 18. I'm going to leave the 3x squared minus 12 as they are, and in the middle, I'm going to put these 2 numbers, plus 2x minus 18x, because those 2 combine to give me my negative 16x. Root by 2's, take out an x, leave behind a 3x plus 2. I need that 3x plus 2 left over in the back, so I look at my numbers and say, I'm going to take out a minus 6. One of my factors is 3x plus 2. The other one is an x minus 6. Hopefully, we're slowly getting it. We're using all the information we learned in the first 12 problems to be able to do these. All right, one more like this. All right, 4x squared plus 5x minus 16. Give this one a try, pause it, and unpause it periodically to make sure you're on the right track. Last term's negative, plus minus. 4 times 6 is 24, so I need to multiply to give me 24, and subtract to give me 5. 124, 2, 12, 3, 8, 4, 6, and I'm going to go with 3, 8. 3 minus 8, or 8 minus 3 is my thought process. I want a positive 5, so I'm going to use 8 minus 3. I'm going to put the 8 with the 4x and the 3 with the 6 because they go together just a little bit easier. Take out a 4x. Nope, not 2x. I'm ahead of myself. X plus 2. Take out, or to end up with an x plus 2, I need to take out a negative 3. Make sure I said it. That first part, I'm going to take out a 4x because that's what they have in common. 4x minus 3. X plus 2. That's factoring leading coefficients. Like I said several times, it uses all the bits of information we learned to lead up to this, except the number we're going to multiply to get is found by multiplying that first, your coefficient times your constant. All right, last part. Number 17, x squared minus 64. We're going to call this a difference of squares. A difference of squares. It's called a difference of squares because it's 2 perfect squares. X times x is x squared, 8 times 8 is 64, separated by a minus sign. If we ever have 2 perfect squares, a number times itself gives me that value, separated by a minus sign, we're going to go straight to our answer. When my last term is negative like this is, it's going to be a plus minus. I'm going to take the square root of x squared. What times itself is x squared? X and x. What times itself is 64? 8 and 8. And I'm going to say x plus 8 and x minus 8. A difference of squares. 2 perfect squares separated by a minus sign. Square root of x squared is x. I put that in the front. Square root of 64 is 8. I put those in the back, and I put a plus, minus, plus and a minus. Because if I FOIL this, x squared minus 8x plus 8x minus 64, my middle two terms cancel, and I get x squared minus 64, which is what I started with. All right, so number 18, r squared minus 16. In my head, I realize that r times r is r squared. 4 times 4 is 16, separated by a minus sign, so I'm good. Plus minus, because my last term is negative. I put an r in the front. Square root of 16 is 4 and a 4. Right, just knowing this rule. All right, the next one, 4a squared minus 49. All right, I know that 2a times 2a is 4a squared. 7 times 7 is 49, separated by that minus. 2a plus 7, 2a minus 7. Try number 20. All right, 9b squared is 3b times 3b. 100c squared is 10c times 10c. Separated by a minus sign, so I'm going to do 3b plus 10c, 3b minus 10c. And that's the lesson. We have one more bit of factoring we're going to learn later, but this is going to set us up to be able to do this. This is a concept that's not going away. It's going to keep coming back. All right, so I'm going to assign something here shortly, and have a great weekend.